Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clank Zoka. Welcome to another My Thoughts On. Today, I will be doing another mystery My Thoughts On. I gave you 3 clues, a bonus clue also, and today I'll be revealing it. Although I don't really plan to do any more of these because I don't see that many people getting interested in these. I mean, I'll probably do a few more, but maybe for a while, probably not. People don't really seem to care about these, but I don't know. I mean, I guess a few people enjoy them. I guess. Anyway, so I will still do them, but just maybe not that many, because I do want to surprise you, but maybe not exactly in that way. Anyways, so today I'm going to be talking about Aqua Teen Hunger Force Colin movie film for theatres. Oh, that's such a mouthful, isn't it? I mean, for a film based on Aqua Teen Hunger Force, you'd think Adult Swim would come up with a much better title. Heck, if there was like a Rick and Morty movie, at least Justin Roiland and Dan Hartman and the team can think up of another great name for a film. But this is just lazy. So yeah, Aqua Teen Hunger Force Colin movie film for theatres. Try saying that 10 times fast. This is the 2007 animated film based on the Adult Swim animated series called Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Well, I wouldn't say based because this film doesn't really have any. It doesn't say whether it takes place like before the show or maybe it's like it takes place during the show. I mean, if you want to know what I think of the show, it's good. Yeah, I think it's a perfectly passable show. And while I think it may be one of the more forgettable Adult Swim cartoons, it's no Rick and Morty, but even I take it over Squidbillies, which is just Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but maybe better animated. Heck, even Squidbillies at least had some interesting character designs, and I mean, the show is a bit ugly, and I get that's the point. I love Robot Chicken, Rick and Morty. I do really like, despite how overrated it is. Technically, Final Space doesn't count, but since it did premiere on Adult Swim, at least the second series, it does count. Anyways, Aqua Teen Hunger Force is not really a show that I would watch. It's a film. It's a series that I can see people not really getting into. The dialogue is very random, and it just you can't really follow what people are saying. I mean, you can understand what they're saying, but it just doesn't make sense. The animation is very basic and very stiff and cheap. It has that Scooby-Doo look to it, which I guess is what the creators are trying to go with. The characters are at least likable, well, except for Shake. They are funny, and the voice acting is probably the best thing about this show. So if you like cartoony humor, you won't get it here. If you like weird, violent, and just crazy Adult Swim humor, you'll find it here. Again, it's no Gravity Falls or heck, Final Space is a freaking amazing show compared to this. Um, and yeah, I would say Rick and Morty's better, and I'm not just saying that because Rick and Morty's like the best. But Rick and Morty was actually funnier and had clever writing, and the animation, while not perfect, is stylish. This one has passable animation and okay writing. It is a good animated show, but don't expect anything amazing. And also, despite looking a bit like a kids program, it's definitely not for children. The rating I'd probably give it would be a 7 out of 10, but in terms of age rating, I think it isn't it like a 15 or a 12, or in the US you would probably say M or something. What was it? G for general, PG for parental guidance, PG-13. Oh, R. I think the series is rated R, or maybe PG-13. I don't know. I never watched every episode of the series. I did watch it when I was like I think 10 or 11, which I know is a bit odd, but the series did actually have a 12A rating, which is, I guess, suitable. I did see this film also quite a while ago, well, I think in like 2012, and I haven't watched it since. So yeah, I like the series fine. It's not a personal favourite. There's not one I would consider bad. Anyways, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the movie. I'm going to call it that because the title is really fucking dumb. And I wouldn't be surprised if the creators are aware of how dumb it is. So, this film, I never saw it when it came out because A, I never really got into the show or heard of it at that point, and B, I was a bit too young to watch it. Because this one actually has uncensored swears and it's actually more gorier than the series. The series' profanity is rather mild. This one kind of goes a little extreme. The film, from what I've heard, got mixed reviews, and people don't really seem to know what to think of it. I think fans of the show will probably like it more than the general audience or critics. And this was coming out within the same year as the Simpsons movie. You can tell which film did it better. But does it mean this film's bad? Well, let's find out. This is a film about how our three main characters were created. Master Shake, who's voiced by Dana Strider. Meatwad, who's voiced by one of the creators and the director of this film, Dave Willis, and Frylock, the Brains, who's voiced by, I think his name's Carrie Means. Anyway, so this is a film that's Carrie Means. So this is a film that's supposed to explain how these three characters were created. And obviously, in every episode, I would assume, there's like this character named Dr. Weird and his assistant Steve. They appear in every episode, at least in the opening. And you'd assume that that's the person who created them. And you'd be right. However, that's not actually the main plot of the film. It's about these three characters and their neighbour Coral, who's also voiced by Dave Willis, trying to try out this Insano-Flex because Shake is being the very irritating, annoying jackass, as he always is. He wants to prove to Frylock and Meatwad that he's a guy who's, he's strong, he likes ladies, he likes boobs. I mean, the show wasn't perfect, and the show was immature anyway, so it doesn't surprise me. However, after something goes wrong, Coral ends up in another situation with the team, and they have to stop it. Along the way, there are other characters from the show who do appear, like the Mooninites. I'm gonna forget their names. The orange alien and the green one, and that robot. What was it, like the Ghost of Future Past or something? And then at times they have to find out where they came from, even though it is kind of obvious where they came from, and humour sprinkled around. I'm just going to say this right now. If you never watched the show, and if you're interested in what this film gives you, like an introduction to the show, forget it. Because this film has besides everything else, it has no connection to the show in terms of a continuational story. I mean, it does have an interesting plot where, again, the backstories and how they're created and everything, but besides that, this is just like the show, only longer. The humour, well, I will admit, it did make me laugh a few times. For the most part, it's random, bizarre, gross, and a bit irritating. At times, I was kind of bored a little bit, because most of the film is just these characters talking, and I know the show was like that too, but at least it was only for like 10 minutes. This is for like an hour, almost an hour and 30 minutes. So it does get repetitive, boring, and I'm like, come on, gonna move on. And also the plot, execution-wise, is really strange. It juggles from one place to another, and it feels really disjointed. And, oh god. It's like, this is one of those films that has a plot that's actually kind of hard to explain. I mean, I told you it, but there's more to it. And Aqua Teen Hunger Force is quite an unpredictable show, so you don't really know what's going to happen. And with the film, it does that, but it feels, again, very disjointed and kind of all over the place. And and despite being a film based on a TV series, you know what's in it, don't you? We all know what's in it. There's gore, there's references to like Phil Collins, there's a lot of profanity. They say shit and fuck all the time, I guess. Oh, this is like Family Guy, where when they release the DVD, it's uncensored. Okay. It is a bit strange hearing these characters actually swear, and this is unfortunately one of those films that relies on profanity and violence for the sake of being Adult Swim. I mean, yeah, Adult Swim's not exactly for children, but you know, at least they can keep the writing and the comedy tight and make it clever. This one it just feels like the creators are like, you know what, let's just have fun with it and just not care about story. If you're gonna make a film based on a series and make it bigger, do it. This just feels like the TV show, like an episode of the show, but just longer. It doesn't feel big, it just feels like a very standard and even just unfunny episode of the show. Again, I laughed a few times, probably like 2 or 3 times, but the humor is very stale and kind of boring. And I can see people really not getting into this, and when I saw it, I did kind of enjoy it, but for the most part, I was like, I don't want this to be over. There are a few like very visually cool scenes, like there's a backstory involving Chicken Bittle, voiced by, I kid you not, Bruce Campbell. Yes, Bruce Campbell from Cloudy with Jones and Meatballs, and freaking Cars 2, and big star, like really big action star. He's in this, and he's only in it for like 2 minutes. Wasteful. The backstory for these characters is actually interesting, although a bit over the top and a bit gross. I am interested in how they were created, and again, this film and the show's unpredictable. So they just, you know, you know what I just realised. This film just feels like the writers and the creators were like, you know what? It just feels like they're just making stuff up as they go along. Like there's this watermelon character, there's the Insano Flex. It's like everything in this film feels like they just made it up as they go along. There was no time consuming. There was no time to write a story. There was like Insano Flex, backstory, chicken, random humor, and characters that just do nothing. Oh, and there's lots of talking. Put it in. And yeah, the show is like that, but for a film, it doesn't work. It just feels long, boring, and pretty much like 90% unfunny. I know this is a Adult Swim property, but the story feels like wasted potential. The humor's not very funny, and it can be very boring. Even when it gets action-packed, it kind of feels quite stale. It's boring, long, it just feels like they're making stuff up as they go along. And I know that's kind of what Adult Swim does, but film form, this could have been a lot better as a Aqua Teen Hunger Force film, but it doesn't. It just feels disjointed and all over the place. Animation. I can't tell if the animation is like exactly like it stays true to the show's animation, or if the animation is too basic and stiff to be on the big screen. The animation, surprisingly, is not one of the worst things out there, but it is kind of crap. And again, it is an adult cartoon, and I get a lot of adult cartoons animation is not very energetic or colourful. Most of them are quite stiff and very standard, and most of these characters in their designs look decent. Again, Scooby-Doo design, and I see what they're trying to do. and it does work. I like Shake's design, Frylock, Meatwad, even the humans look far too similar to Scooby-Doo. And this is coming from a show that actually had a Scooby-Doo parody. You ever heard of Aqua Unit Patrol Squad? I'm not joking. There were like a few times where their intros were actually like called like. I think there was one called Aqua Unit Patrol Squad and one called Aqua something, whatever. I'm telling you, this show is just all over the place. The background animation just kind of looks like something you would see definitely from Adult Swim, and it has that very cheap and very basic look to it. The movements are quite stiff and very flashy, and I assume this was made using Flash. The characters in how they move and the way they move their eyes, and most of it's just kind of repeated movements. Now and then there would be some nice smooth animation, but not much. There are some 3D aspects in the film where the Insanoflex gets, created, and sometimes now and then it would visually look quite nice. Heck, it even reminded me of a comic book at some points. However, as okay as the animation is, if they went for the SpongeBob Sponge on the Run tactic of actually updating the animation and giving it a look, this is like SpongeBob, only not as funny and endearing, just stale. If they went for a different animation design, I think this would have given the film a better polished look. And I get that the show and this film has a low budget, but if they had some money lying around, if they had the technology, they could have made this visually at least look good. So it does try its best to be at least admirable, I guess. The animation, I would probably say, is too good for the big screen. It's just exactly like the show, but not much has changed. There are a few cool shots here and there, and the Insanoflex transformation is not bad. But it, again, visually and from a story purpose, it just feels like a very standard Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode. The animation surprises me in just how crap it is. It's not animation I would say I like or dislike. It's something that I'm like, yeah, it exists. However, if this was animated in like a Rick and Morty or maybe like Gravity Falls way, I think this would have been a lot better to look at. But as it is, it's passable, I guess. Characters and acting. The characters are interesting, and I don't think I mean that in a good way. For those who watch the show, you know who the characters are. You got Frylock, who's the brains and I guess leader of the group. He's the one who actually cares about what's going on and the situation. Shake, Master Shake is just a lazy jackass Shake who makes fun of Meatwad. Meatwad is kind of, I guess, the youngest out of the group. He's quite dumb and naive. Carl is the strict and the grumpy neighbor. All four of these characters just pretty much act like themselves with no development, except for the main three. Frylock is the one who's actually more, he's the one who's actually concerned. I actually thought he was the only character throughout the film until the end, which I thought got a little bit... I thought the film towards the end where he's talking with Dr. Weird got a little bit longer, and it just felt like it should have ended by now. He's still funny, he's still likable. He's probably the only character out of the three who's actually likable, and you do kind of care for him. Shake is just... I would probably say he's the comic relief, but he's also kind of... he's not really needed. I mean, yeah, he's part of the group, but he doesn't do much except abuse Meatwad, look at anything to do with ladies. He's still funny, and I think Dana Strider voices him very well, and I think he can be funny, but there isn't much to him. He's just kind of there just to be a Master Shaken Jackass. Meatwad is just, again, himself. He can bring in a few chuckles, but he doesn't do much, except his transformation is quite creative in the animation, but as a character, he didn't do a thing. Same with Coral. He's just the grumpy neighbour, and that's it. He gets involved in their situation, and he just goes off with a lady. So, I'm already lost. I mean, these characters in the show weren't all that well developed to my knowledge, so they're not well developed here. Maybe except for Frylock? I don't know. But, I mean, to be fair, four of them are... the four characters are really one-dimensional and kind of forgettable. The other characters, like the Moon Knight, I'm going to try and pronounce his name right, Oglethorpe and Emori, these two alien characters, they're the characters who makes the humour a bit gross and a bit obnoxious. They did appear in the show, but I don't remember what episode. Then there's like the cybernetic ghost, I think he's called the Ghost of the Future Past. He's there just to kind of tell what's going on, but his humour is so random, and half the time you can't even understand what he's saying. Like, these three characters are pointless, and I wouldn't call them villains. I guess, actually, all these characters, you could say they're on and off. I mean, they could all be heroes and villains, which is kind of weird. The Moon Knights don't really do a thing for me. They're amusing. They were actually funny in like a few episodes in the show, but here they didn't do a thing for me. They were just there for just references and because they're characters from the show, and they'd be like, and fans would be like, oh, I know who that is. Yeah. Dr. Weird is probably, besides Frylock, he's probably the other interesting character in the film. He did make me laugh a few times, and I think his role in here is a lot bigger. Although his role could have been a lot longer and he could have been more explored, but he's still a pretty funny and, I guess, insane character. His assistant Steve is just the assistant that does whatever he says, and that's it. Chicken Bittle is just a character voiced by Bruce Campbell, and he doesn't do anything except he's somehow part of the Aqua Teens backstory, and they don't do much with him. Same with Walter Melon. Like, they have these characters that could have been well explored and interesting, but they don't do jack. Most of these are either comedic or they're just there because they have to die because this is rated 15. God. Then there's like MCP Pants, who's also from the show too, and he's there and nothing happens. There's also a Burrito who's actually... spoiler alert, I guess. This film is so unpredictable and so bizarre that I guess it can be considered a spoiler, but whatever. Tina Fey voices a Burrito who turns out to be Frylock, Meatwad, and Shake's mum. And it's weird. All these characters, I really can't say if they're good or bad. They're all some of them are one-noted. All of them are quite on and off at times. Some of them are gross and forgettable. Some don't really do much. Some are even unlikable. But Frylock and Dr. Weird are the only characters I really liked. However, I will say this. The voice acting is kind of what saves these characters from being completely dreadful. Not that it makes these characters any better, but the voice acting is really good. You got Dana Strider as Shake, who always does a great job. Dave Willis, one of the creators of the show and the film, he's Meatwad, and Carl. I think, but he does great voices. He can do a great Meatwad. I think Meatwad's probably the hardest to do out of all these characters. Carrie Means is excellent as Frylock. I can't think who else. And H. John Benjamin's in this film from Bob's Burgers as well. I mean, he was a character in the show, but I think he was like a Mothman or something. There will be a few recognisable voice actors. Chris Kattan, Bruce Campbell's in this, Tina Fey, like I said. Can't think of who else. That's it, really. The characters could be funny and weird, but the problem is that they can't. The writers and the team can't really tell what personalities they should have. They do a good job, but probably they do a too well of a job to make these characters likable. They're all one-noted, on and off, weird, gross, and a bit obnoxious, and not all that funny. But the voice acting does save them from being bad. However, these characters are still not good enough to be considered a milkshake, a portion of fries, and a slab of meat. That's just weird. On a side note, right, so I didn't mention this in the animation, but there's a really cool remix of the theme song from the show, and the animation that plays with it, it looks like fan art, but it's actually good fan art. I mean, yeah, it looks pretty weak compared to the film, but it's actually the best that this film has to offer. It has that. It does look like something from Adult Swim too. This is like stuff you see from Rick and Morty, all this fan art and all these fan films. It's cool, it's violent, it's colourful, it's really good, and the song, the remix, is also good from Schoolie D, who did the theme song for the show. So yeah, I think that's good. I don't know how to say this. If you're a fan of the show, and if you love the random, weird, nonsensical, and just sexist humour, you'll probably enjoy this. If you're a person who wants to get introduced to the show, this is not a good sign. This is not a good start. If you want to see this film, and if you think you're going to find Pixar humour, you're not going to find it here. This film is just... Usually I would have something to say, but this film leaves me kind of speechless. When I first saw it, I didn't mind it too much. I thought, oh, it's just alright. But when I look at it again, I'm like, yeah, this is not as good as I remember it being. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the movie, is just a completely wasted potential of a good Aqua Teen Hunger Force film. The plot is so all over the place and unpredictable that it makes it kind of feel like an episode more than a film. The animation is watchable, but it's nothing movie. It's good, but it's not movie quality good. The characters are very on and off, and at times unlikable and gross. However, the voice acting and the good music does save it. So yeah, okay. So the positives I'm saying here is, it made me laugh a few times. It does have a few creative moments. I love the opening with the with like the cinema, like little ident saying, you should go to the lobby and get snacks, and then there's like this band that tells you to enjoy the film and not look at your like the opening to the film is actually fucking funny. The animation is decent. It has a very simplistic look, which I think is what the creators are going for. The music's good. I love I like the fan art that plays during the remix, and I like Frylock and Dr. Weird, and the voice acting is very good. Unfortunately, it's not enough to say this film is good, but it's leaning more towards bad, but it's not bad. It's just kind of passable, but at the same time, it's really, really not a film I would watch again. Again, not good, not bad, just It could have been better, but it was just a bit too strange and too normal. I gave this film a 5 out of 10. I don't know what point, but I'm gonna say 5.3 out of 10. Comparing this to other Cartoon Network movies, and yes, this is technically a Cartoon Network film, I mean, it is Adult Swim, but Adult Swim is like the, the adult version of Cartoon Network. And Teen Titans Go to the Movies was not great, but I enjoyed that more. The Powerpuff Girls movie was better. This was just a weak addition to these films based on a cartoon. Even the second SpongeBob movie wasn't amazing, but I liked that. The Simpsons movie obviously is better. Trying to think what else. South Park movie was great. Actually, I need to do my thoughts on that because I haven't seen that in a while. So yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was good, but it had a very weird in between. I can't say it's amazing or bad. It's just, I don't know. It's just weirdly passable. If you're a fan of the show, you'll enjoy it. I'm not a big fan of the show, but I like it okay. Just take your pick. So yeah, this was a weird film to talk about, but I don't know. I didn't really want to talk. I wanted to talk about it and just get it out of the way because it's odd. It is really odd. So if you have seen the film, I mean, if you like the film, then I kind of don't get it. But I mean, if you're a fan of the show, then I guess. But if you have seen the film, let me know below. Next, my thoughts on will probably be on a requested film, but I am planning to do a film that's up to its 13th anniversary, so look out for that. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. Until next time, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, #1 in the hood, Jay.